Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Rundles. And today, for a moment of motivation, I want to talk from a process of thought this morning the dangers of shallow waters. My God, in here. I will be deriving this from the gospel according to St. Luke, the fifth chapter. But let us dive into the dangers of shallow waters. The dangers of shallow waters, sometimes you must leave the shallow waters behind and go into the deep to receive the blessing that God has in store for you. We must learn to leave the shallow waters of our past, forgetting the things that's already gone, and be willing to launch out into the deep waters of our future. How many realize what God has for us is in the deeper waters? How many realize that everything that's in front of you is still intact, but everything behind you is already gone? My God, if we stand to be blessed in 2024, we must be willing to leave the shallow waters of our comfort zone. We can no longer settle for say. We must leave the shallow waters of our traditions, leave the shallow waters of doing the same thing and keep getting the same results, and launch out into the deep waters where God has some bountiful blessings waiting for us. Don't let the situation dictate the outcome, no matter what your experience is now. Don't judge my future by my present circumstance. Because why? I look better in the future than I do right now. Don't let the situation dictate the outcome. If we want to be the best that God can offer, we need to trust God and launch out into the deep. In this particular text, how many realize that Peter was an expert fisherman? Peter knew the waters like the back of his hand, and he knew it was the wrong time to be fishing. My God, in here. But Jesus declares to him, and he shares with him in verse 4 of the text. He tells Peter to launch out into the deep. My God, in here. Sometimes God will command us to leave a familiar place and go into a place where your blessings is in waiting for you. Oh my God. Because Peter's blessing was not in the shallow water, but it was in the deep water. Do you realize that Peter was reluctant because he had already cleaned his net in verse 2 of chapter 5? And he was tired. He had already giving up. How many know, even though you've said, I've tried this over and over, and I've been fishing here, I've been going here, I've been doing these things, and still I keep getting in there with the same results. But how many realize that God is saying that what God has for you is in the deep waters? So he tells us in verse 4 of the text, he says, now is an adverb. It means at this present time or this present moment, no matter where you used to do and how life has led you. But right now, at this present time, God has a blessing in store for you. He says, where you're living now. How many realize now? My first impulse sometimes is to run away. It is to give up. It is to throw the towel in. But what God has for you is in the deep waters. Jesus told Peter, launch out into the deep. Let down your nets for a draught. Drought here means a great catch of fish. Launch means you got to throw yourself forward. It means to give a release, to catapult, to throw oneself with excitement. My God, for how many realize that for all the promise of God are in him, are yea, and in him, amen, unto the glory of God by us. He says, Master, oh God, we're tired. We've been working. We've been toiling all night. We've been laboring all night. I've been doing this for years, God, and it just don't work for me. Every time I turn around, something has come up. He said, Master, we have labored all night and haven't caught anything. Yes, God. But how many know? But now he's saying, but because you said it. Oh, I'm going to try it again. He says, well, nevertheless. How many realize that it's something about a sanctified nevertheless? One of the powerful things about the word nevertheless. How many know there is a very few words in our English language that changes the whole contents of the conversation of the sentence? That word is where? Nevertheless. How many realize that Luke quotes the Greek writer Thayer, who defines it as after a negative sentence? Oh my God, it serves to mark a transition into something brand new. My God, in here. It says, so to simplify it up for us today, it means yet. It means however. It means despite or in spite of this. In spite of this, we'll try again. And how many realize out of obedience of obeying what Jesus had commanded him to do? Oh my God, when he threw the nets back into the water. Woo! Because he was reluctant because he just cleaned them. But when they throwed him into her, how many know they caught a great draught of fish? So many fish came that if the nets was breaking, they had to call other people around there. How many realize what God has for you is in the deep waters, and what God has for you, that He's going to make you become a blessing? My God, in here, because when you trust Him and you step beyond your comfort zone, you step out beyond the things that you're familiar with. When you come out of the deep water, the shallow water, and when you step into God's purpose for you, how many realize an overflow and abundance of life is coming your way? When we do what the Lord say, an overflow of blessings are coming our way. Overflow means a bursting, a spilling over, a running over. What God has for you is in the deep water. My God. And we want to give God some praise this morning. My God, here. And so we talk about, stop selling for safe, stop dwelling on the past and the failures, and start walking to the purpose that God has called you to be. How many realize that what God has for you is in the deep water, not the shallow water? Take a leap of faith, step out on faith and trust God, and watch God work it out for you. May this bless you today. May this encourage you to go forward. Amen.